Let us stand for our invocation. Councilman Moore.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the many blessings that you have bestowed in our life. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for this wonderful town that you allow us to be able to be part of and to be able to serve. We ask you, Lord, to continue on blessing us and leading us and guiding us to make the right decision to please you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to our town meeting. I see some faces that I haven't seen before, and I say welcome to them. And we invite you not only to come tonight, but find ways that you can get involved with our town and help us be that slice of a good life that we can be with your cooperation. So welcome to everybody here tonight. Our own folks, you're welcome too. The next thing we have is our approval of agenda.
So moved.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Sure.
We've got some changes. You have your amended agenda at your seats, and I'd like to quickly go over what those changes are. Under proclamations, we've added 2 additional proclamations, one for Women's History Month and one to honor Mamie Whitehurst Boyd's 80th birthday. Under our public comment, we've done something a little bit different. We had one public comment previously scheduled. That has been removed, and we've added 2 of our employees who don't normally speak under public comment, but we wanted to get their comments in early in the meeting, so we added them to public comment as opposed to add a separate presentation section. So you'll see our police chief, and Stephen Penn is with us tonight, our economic development planner. And then finally, on the second page, you'll see that we have amended new business item number 5. This deals with the process for easement acquisition and condemnation for multiple properties. When you received your agenda, that only included some electric department related easements, and we have now added one for public works as well. Thank you, Evan. I'm having some technical difficulties, so thank you for your patience. So we've added that to include a process for properties that involve both the electric department project and public works project. And I believe they are all the changes, Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay. Motion, did we get a second?
I second it with the changes.
Okay.
Made the initial
Mark.
Councilman Smith.
Question? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may, before we get started, also, as you all know, our mayor is not with us tonight. He's still recuperating, doing well, but still recuperating. And our town attorney, Keen Lassiter, had to have emergency surgery on Friday. He's doing well. I talked with him this afternoon, but he's at home recuperating. He sends his apologies. He really wanted to be here, but we felt it best that he stay at home. So please keep your thoughts and prayers with those 2 gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to our proclamations. Should I read all of them?
I will leave that up to you, Mayor Pro Tem. They're not incredibly long,
Yeah.
but there are 3 of them.
Okay. The first one is the proclamation, Month of the Young Child and the Week of the Young Child. Whereas the Martin Pitt Partnership for Children, in conjunction with the North Carolina Association for the Education of Young Children and National Association for the Education of Young Children, are celebrating the month of the Young Child in April 2020, and the Week of the Young Child, April 13th through 17th, 2020. And whereas these organizations are working to promote and inspire high-quality early childhood experiences for our city's youngest citizens that can provide a foundation of learning and success for children in Winterville, North Carolina. And whereas teachers and others who work with or on behalf of the young children birth through age 5 who make a difference in the lives of young children in Winterville, North Carolina, deserve thanks and recognition. And whereas public policies that support early learning for all young children are crucial to young children's futures and the prosperity of our society. Whereas all young children and their families across the country and in Winterville, North Carolina, deserve access to high-quality early education and care. And whereas in recognizing and supporting the people, programs, and policies that are committed to high-quality early childhood education as the right choice for kids, now therefore I, Douglas A. Jackson, Mayor of the town of Winterville, do hereby proclaim April 2020 as Month of the Young Child and April 13th through the 17th, 2020 as Week of the Young Child in Winterville, North Carolina, and commend observance to all citizens. And it's witnessed, and he signed it on the 9th day of March, 2020. The other proclamation honoring Women's History Month. Whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background have made historic contributions to the growth and strength of our nation in countless recorded and unrecorded ways. And whereas American women have played and continue to play critical economic, cultural, and social roles in every sphere of the life of the nation by constituting a significant portion of the labor force working inside and outside of the home. And whereas American women have played a unique role throughout the history of the nation by providing the majority of the volunteer labor force of the nation, and whereas American women were particularly important in the establishment of early charitable, philanthropic, and cultural institutions in our nation, and whereas American women of every race, class, and ethnic background served as early leaders in the forefront of every major progressive social change movement, and whereas American women have served our country courageously in the military, and whereas American women have been leaders not only in securing their own rights of suffrage and equal opportunity, but also in the abolitionist movement, the emancipation movement, the industrial labor movement, the civil rights movement, and other movements, especially the peace movement, which created a more fair and just society for all. And whereas, despite these contributions, the role of American women in history has been consistently overlooked and undervalued in the literature, teaching, and study of American history. And now, therefore, I, Veronica W. Robinson, Mayor Pro Tem for the town of Winterville, hereby designate March as Women's History Month, honoring the contribution and legacy of women. And of course, it's signed the 9th day of March, 2020. Proclamation honoring Mamie Whitehurst Board's 80th birthday. Whereas the town of Winterville recognizes the 80th birthday of Mrs. Mamie Whitehurst Board, born and reared in the Winterville community, and whereas longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and for a community which benefits from the experiences, cooperation, knowledge, and creativity this individual brings to our community. And whereas Mrs. Mamie Board was born in Pitt County, North Carolina on March 13, 1940, and became a resident of Winterville, North Carolina, well over 50 years ago, residing on Board Street. And whereas Mrs. Mamie attended Robinson School in Winterville, where she was notably known for her excellent basketball playing skills. And whereas Mrs. Mamie always tries to be nice to everyone she comes in contact with, and continues to be married to Mr. Paul J. Boyd as they embark on 56 years of holy matrimony. And whereas Mrs. Mamie is a woman of great faith who loves helping her community, Ms. Mamie has a history of volunteering and has participated in the Winterville Parade in past years and played an intricate part in delivering food to those who were unable to get out of their homes in the community, as well as being a participant in the Winterville Senior Citizens activities. And whereas Ms. Mamie is a retired United States federal government worker who raised 3 children of her own and fostered multiple children in need of a loving, structured home. And whereas on the celebration of her 80th birthday, the Winterville community honors her for her contributions to our community. And now therefore, I, Veronica W. Robertson, Mayor Pro Tem of the town of Winterville, honor Miss Mamie on her 80th birthday and wish her long life and prosperity for many more years. And of course, this is signed today, March 9th, 2020. Okay. Takes care of those proclamations. Did something with my agenda. Yeah. Here it is. I got it now. Okay. Our public comment period is next, and this is usually read so that everyone can adhere to it. The public comment period of 30 minutes provides an opportunity for residents to comment on any item included in the agenda or to address the town council in any other matter related to the town of Winterville. For an item included in the public hearing section of the agenda, residents should address the council at the time the mayor invites public comment on the item. No public comment may be made to the council during the meeting, except during the public comment period or as part of a public hearing. Individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and no more than 3 speakers may address the council on a single matter. The town council may elect to take no action on the matter addressed by the speaker, may schedule the matter for further consideration at a future council meeting, or may refer the matter to town staff for disposition. Copies of the town comment policy are available in the rear of the assembly room. And,
Mayor Pro Tem, we had an additional request to speak, so maybe we make Mr. Jones number 2 and then have Chief and Stephen as 3 and 4. Okay?
that'll be fine. Heather Day Jackson.
Good evening. My name is Heather Jackson, and I am a volunteer with the Watermelon Festival in Winterville. And this year, I decided to design the T-shirts. Just drew up some designs, and I presented them at our last meeting last month. And one of the designs that I drew, I took a piece of the Town of Winterville logo, the little cityscape, and I come to you this evening asking the town council's permission to use that as part of the design for a possible T-shirt. We still need to vote as a group, but I did want to come tonight and ask permission to use part of the logo as on one of the T-shirts if that's what's decided at the meeting.
For T-shirts only, just T-shirts?
Yes, I believe. For like the back design, and we hadn't really discussed if it would be on the front or if it would just say, Watermelon Festival.
You've had some shirts like that in the past. I have some older ones that had the town's logo on it in the back of it.
Yeah, I think it's been a while.
I'm not sure there's been one since I've been here, so maybe
Got
more
one
than
at
11 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Any other questions?
Oh, do you guys should have a copy of it, I believe?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we
I'm
need
gonna call
do we need anything?
discussion.
I think Debbie wanted to speak too.
Yes. Debbie Avery's gonna speak on the same topic, so she's gonna come now.
I'm going to piggyback on Heather's discussion. We have also had a business in town that has come and asked me if they could do a painting on the side of their building of the same design that we have for that T-shirt idea right now, with Winterville, a slice of the good life, with watermelon slice in the townscape. So
Which building would it be on? Just curious.
the one Miss Moore has just purchased, she wants to put that on the side of her building. And so we need an answer for the
I
shirts.
move for approval of both requests.
A motion?
I'll second that.
Okay.
Question?
I have, yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I wanted to remind council that some time ago, since I've been here, you all made moves to protect the logo and asked staff to work on an alternate logo, which we've done so. However, none of the examples that have come forward yet have been ones we were willing to present as our alternate logo so that they could be used for things like this. It's just a reminder. Obviously, staff will do whatever council votes to do.
What year was it used on the shirt?
Beg your
The
pardon?
town logo, what year was it used?
I don't know that it's ever been used. It's
I've got a shirt with it on the back.
With the streetscape on it?
not with the
I didn't
streetscape.
think
We've
so.
never used that before.
That's the one that you all took
Yes.
movements to protect.
We let you steal our logo with Winterville Slice of the Good Life. That was okay with us.
And then Terry, this is trademark, logo,
It is protected, yes.
trademark
Yes.
protected.
That's why I asked, it's gonna be for T-shirts only.
Right,
I don't have a problem
and
with that.
then the
And then
second
for the
part,
sign.
the second part was for
Right, for the side of the wall,
side of the wall there.
and I don't have a problem with that.
So your motion is to is to allow the festival committee to use it for T-shirts and also to allow them to paint it on the side of the wall?
Yeah, it was Tony's
Yes,
motion.
yes.
Okay. Okay, excuse me. Anyway,
Do the first.
so we
can
got any more
I'm asking the
questions?
question, can we do the first motion first? Or you want to combine both of them? I
Well,
think,
we don't have
A motion
one
is
motion,
vote.
right?
it was one motion,
Yeah,
but
he
motion
combined,
is
he
vote.
combined both of
or you
them.
combine both?
Okay.
Ms. Terry, do you recall the reason why we made a motion to
Yes, I believe that.
restrict it, not to go any further than what we have?
I think the idea was we had been utilizing the streetscape, which was in existence when I came to work, but on our shirts and paraphernalia that officials with the town had been wearing and utilizing. And there was some discussion about there being confusion about what's official versus what's not official if we just allow it to be used broad scale by everyone. So I think that was really the premise, if I recall correctly, for the move to protect it, so that only officials and official events related to the town would utilize that. But again, I mean, that was, certainly staff stands by whatever council chooses to do.
What's your timeline for
Yes.
the T-shirts and the sign on your building?
Well, the T-shirts, we wouldn't truly order until like July,
Okay.
but we'd have to get the logo digitalized for the shirts.
Well, I have no problem with the T-shirt part of it, as far as using the logo on the watermelon T-shirt, but I kind of have a problem with the signage on the side of the building. That's why I was asking, was it going to be two separate? That's the reason I was asking about that, but you made it all in one motion. I'd like to make a motion that we use.
We got a motion on the floor, so
Okay.
let's clear that one first.
Isn't it on the water tank too?
No, sir. Streetscape is.
Streetscape, yes.
When you said, is it on our water tank,
Yeah.
did you mean the streetscape or
Yeah,
what?
Streetscape.
Yeah, that's our official,
Okay.
yeah, that was our decision to put it up there.
For the picture on the side. Can I ask Ms. Avery? Ms. Avery, how soon do you need to have an answer for this?
It can be any time. Of course, we would like to have it done before the festival on August 1st. And it would probably take a couple of months to get it painted and put up and everything.
Yeah, are you talking about the T-shirts or the mural?
I'm talking about the mural.
The mural.
Is that something the chamber's handling?
Well, it's a business in the chamber, but they asked me to come speak.
Gotcha.
They're scared of you.
Okay.
Or if they, if you decide not to do it, then they would just do a watermelon slice, but using that logo as a slice of the good life.
Gotcha.
I know in the past, we did, a business did come and want to use that, the streetscape,
Yes.
and we chose not to do that. I would like to see, this is not a motion, but I would like to see, us give, staff the opportunity to come up with an alternative. And Ms. Jackson, this would be something that you could agree on to. an alternative to using the streetscape. I know that, I've been told that we couldn't find anything else, but I remember that we did an alternative streetscape that was a little different than this, that people could use. So I would like to see staff, be given the opportunity to come up with an alternative. But we do have this motion on the floor. Any more discussion? Okay. All in favor of this motion, please raise your hand. All opposed? Okay. And I would like,
Now, I'd like to make a motion to approve the streetscape for the Watermelon Festival T-shirt.
Second.
okay. We have a motion to use the streetscape into the design for the T-shirts only. Am I correct?
Yes, T-shirts on.
All right, now question. And I'm gonna say this because if we use it for the T-shirts, we're actually giving the festival a privilege that we didn't offer one of our businesses. And I would like for us to stay and try to be fair to all of our businesses. Years ago, when this business came, they asked to use the streetscape, and we denied it. So I would like, that's why I would not be in favor of that motion. An alternative design, I could support that. But anyway, any other questions? And I'm functioning as mayor and as a member of this board, so that's why I can make these comments. I realize I am mayor, I'm in the position, but I'm still elected as a council person.
You
So,
retain your right to vote.
yes, I retain my right to vote. So, any other questions? Are you ready to vote? All in favor of the motion to allow the committee to use the streetscape in their T-shirts, please raise your hand. Okay. All opposed? Because I won. Okay. So, it's been approved that the Watermelon Committee is given permission to use the streetscape in their T-shirts. Okay. And we'll proceed with our next public comment. We've got Mr. James Jones. And while he's coming, his father used to serve on our Board of Aldermen. Back in, it's been quite a while ago, but his father, Willie Jones, you'll see his name on some of our buildings.
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to speak this evening. I have a couple items I wanted to talk about, and the first one being community garden. My church, Mount Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church, we're in the midst of organizing and preparing to do a community garden. And we've talked with the lady over at NC Extension who's going to speak with us in a couple of weeks and give us some guidance. And also, the research shows that there may be some resources available with the town of Winterville, Parks and Recreation, and there may be some government assistance that goes through the mayor's office. So I'm here today to solicit any support that may be available for our community garden by the town of Winterville. And the second item that I wanted to speak on was senior housing. And that's of interest to me, working in the insurance field with 65 and above, and just from my life experience working with seniors and just being concerned about seniors, I was wondering if the town of Winterville had a plan, or is there something already in force to address the need for senior housing in this area, in the town of Winterville, because it's said that those who take care of the seniors they're held up a little higher. And so I'm just curious and would like to know if the town of Winterville has a plan, or just are you charting, or just anything that's in place to keep up with the need for senior housing in this community. And that was what I wanted to know about that. And if I might, just one additional thing, it's not on the list. And that is community preparedness in view of what's going on with the virus, and just in general emergency preparedness. I was doing some research as a member of North Carolina Senior Citizen District 1A. I'm charged to do community outreach, and one of the projects I've been working on is community preparedness, trying to be a resource to the police department, to fire department, and just another level to make sure that no one goes unserviced in times of trouble, pandemic, tornadoes, hurricanes, whatever. And so I was just wanting to let you all know that that's something that we're in the midst of, and if there's, I'm sure that I could get some contacts with the fire department and the police department. I pretty much know somewhat the route to take, but I just wanted to bring that up to just see if there's any additional efforts going on with town of Winterville in lieu of what's going on with the, well, they're calling it a pandemic now. Some people are. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Our police chief, Chief Will Height, is over there, and our fire chief, David Moore, are both over there. And if you can get Mr. Jones's contact information and get together on the items you asked about the pandemic.
And I also have some comments just from a community standpoint, just to put it out there, because we do have some people that are interested, just sort of what the town of Winterville is doing in terms to stay informed, so
Okay.
that we can then be prepared if in fact actions are necessary.
Okay. Mhm.
I could do that later on in the meeting.
Okay, that'd be fine.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. With the recent sad passing of one of our A.G. Cox students, I know we've seen that on the news recently. I was asked to kind of get give an overview. For some reason that's not showing. An overview of the school initiatives, and actually it goes all the way from the school to the county and even at the state level. The State Board of Education in 2009 put out a lengthy bullying policy, and that prompted the county to do the same. We got technical difficulties here.
I'm not the only one.
That'll be fine. So I pulled up the Pitt County Board of Education's website, the Pitt County Schools website, and there's a whole section about bullying. When speaking with the school resource officer, although it's not technically in the police department's purview, it is in the school resource officer's purview because he works for the school. He has many hats that he wears, and unfortunately,
And Chief, could you just remind everyone who our school resource officer is?
our school resource officer is Officer Larry Dobra. He covers mostly A.G. Cox, but he also is at W.H. Robinson and Creekside as well. After speaking with him and my wife, she's a school administrator as well, the largest issue is reporting. Now, under the bullying website, the bullying portion of the county's website, there is a tip line to report bullying. You can do this anonymously, and I think it is a community issue. It is a citizen issue, it is a teacher issue, it is a law enforcement issue, it is everyone's issue to identify and then report bullying in our schools. It's not as easy as it sounds. Like my wife told me last night, bullies are sneaky. They're seldom detected, and the victim usually is not one that usually reports it. I'm sure Lieutenant German knows, being involved in school resource officer duties for a very long time, has a lot of stories that are hopefully not as tragic as this one. I can't really speak about the details of this particular case, but there's also resources on this page. And obviously everyone at A.G. Cox is personally involved and feeling the angst of what could we have done, what can we do moving forward, and we should all be that way as a community and as a town as well. It's not an easy thing to combat, or we would have already figured it out, much like other social problems that hinder our society. But we're definitely trying. Officer Dober's, been personally affected by this. So he's down in the weeds with the teachers, the social workers, the principals, the assistant principals, in trying to come up with ways to combat this, bring awareness as we are tonight. And we want the citizens to know that we don't take this topic lightly, and we are doing everything in our power to try to assist the school system in any way we can.
Thank you.
I don't know if I can answer many questions, but there's some really powerful videos on this website as well if you get in and dig around a little bit. And it's a shame that it's taken this event to actually have me dig around on the website and look at the bullying page.
I think what we can do as town staff is to take this great information and put out on our social media outlets, website, et cetera, that this is available, and try to point people to this information, and hopefully folks will find it helpful.
On yesterday, they had an event at Premier Sports in support of the family of Kayla, and a lot of people were there, and a lot of interest in the community into we understand what happened, but we don't want it to happen again. And we want to let our children know that we are there for them, no matter who it is or what it is. Just, sometimes, we talk about hug a child. Sometimes we need to hug them or maybe pay a little bit more attention to them. And even their peers, they need to learn to see some of these signs and, just keep our community. We can't lose our young people. And I do appreciate our deputy for coming tonight and being with us at this meeting. I know this is above and beyond, but I really appreciate that you're here. We show interest from our sheriff's department, and I thank you, Chief Wilhite, for this presentation that you made tonight too.
Thank you.
I am saddened by the event, and like everybody else, we all want to keep it from happening again. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Good news, our economic development person, Stephen Penn.
Stephen says he's been missing us, so we're
I
glad to have
have.
him tonight.
It's always good to be here. Good evening, Mayor and Pro Tem and council. Last week we received some good news. This study came out showing, it did a study of cities with a population of 5,000 people and greater. and it was a cost of living style metric that looked at the cost of taxes, looked at the cost of homeowners insurance, looked at mortgage costs, and all of this was relative to median household incomes. Of course, with Winterville's median household income, low taxes, low homeowners insurance, and low mortgage costs, it landed us #1 in North Carolina as the most affordable city with those factors. It's always good to be top 10 on these lists. When I clicked on it and saw that we were #1, I got super excited. Terry knows I actually was asking her if I could release, do a public release right then and there. In addition to being #1, we are one of only 3 cities east of the Triad that was on this list, on this top 10 list. One of only 3 east of the Triad. That's a lot of land. Something that we should be proud of. So this study supports evidence of a high quality of life, low cost of living, and quality jobs in our region. The quality jobs is really what landed us here. Great houses and quality jobs. It supports the data of us being a highly desirable place to live. In fact, the latest American Community Survey by the Census shows that Winterville is 99.2% home occupied, which is an extremely, extremely high rate. If you compare that to any of the regions, you'll find that that's extremely high. And just to support this also, one reason why people want to live here is because year after year, Winterville is in the top 10 as the safest cities in North Carolina. We found out about a month ago that once again for 2020, Winterville has been listed as one of the top 10 safest cities in North Carolina. Just wanted to come in front of you today and just share the good news, and hopefully we'll continue year after year. Thank you.
That is good news. And Mayor Pro Tem, before we leave that, Stephen has also provided a nice flyer that outlines some of our community market events. It's getting about that time, so Stephen and staff have done a good job in trying to put a schedule together that at least highlights certain things for the next few months, and it's exciting, and staff's working hard to pull that together, so thank you all for that good work as well.
Well, I was going to say also to kudos to you for your leadership, because it starts with you and roll down, and also starts with this council. I think as a council, I think we agree to disagree, but we get things done. And I thank you, Terry, for you and your staff and your style of leadership management to help foster this type of atmosphere in this town.
Well, thank you. Citizens should be excited about the staff that works for you every day, as well as this council. We couldn't do it without your leadership, so thank you all.
Yes. And also, I like to thank our citizens.
Absolutely.
I think it starts right there with them,
Absolutely.
with us. And then we makes the town.
Takes us all.
Without the citizen, there's no need for us.
That's right. Or us. So
Thank you,
definitely.
citizens.
Okay. Consent agenda, no items were removed, so.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Question? All in favor? Aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Old business. Buffalo Soldier monthly meeting location.
Mayors, members of the council, I've been working with Dr. Johnson now for quite a while. As you all may recall, I'm having technical difficulties with my speaking as well tonight, so I'll get it together. Dr. Johnson came forward, gosh, has it been more than 2 years ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Gosh, time flies, requesting a space for the Buffalo Soldiers group to meet. You all have been meeting in the community room for a while now. Dr. Johnson has requested a relocation of space to move from the community room to the Operations Center Training Room. I believe the request is for Thursday nights
That is correct, ma'am.
and from
Thursday night from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
7 to 8. Is that once a month?
Once a month, the last Thursday of the month.
Last Thursday of the month, thank you. I have checked with staff at the Operations Center, and believe it or not, Thursday evenings is one of the few times that are available. So they are able to accommodate Dr. Johnson's request if council so approves.
Make a motion.
Second.
All right, the motion's been made, seconded. Question? All in favor, aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Manager, to say thank you.
Thank
I
you.
got nervous for a second.
No, we'll start with this month. Is that okay?
That's right, that's
Okay,
correct.
good deal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, no other old business. We'll move to our new business, animal control ordinance.
Chief. I was missing Chief. Chief Wilhite and folks have been working on updates to our animal control ordinance. I think Chief will explain that, as you all know, we currently offer part-time animal control services to our citizens. That duty is split between the police and public works departments. Most of you may know that we have what we call temporary holding pens at the public works facility. Those are staffed and managed by public works personnel, and they are cleaned and checked every day. Obviously, we are inspected by the state. So there's a lot that goes into it for a part-time service. Having said that, staff's been working closely together for a while now, and they've discovered that based on some specific events in recent months, there was a need to update our ordinance, which had not been updated in quite a while, to better define some certain areas for enforcement. And with that said, I'll turn it over to Chief.
Good evening again. Sorry I was tardy. The town manager said it very eloquently. In the past, we've been getting some complaints about animals being either out in the heat, in the cold, without access to food or water, basically tethering in a certain way is how it's defined. Our ordinance had nothing that we could enforce the tethering of an animal in what most of us would feel a humane way, out of the elements, having access to at least water. I mean, I know I feed my dogs once a day, and where that's done is really my business, but I think they should be able to have access to water, especially in the summer. In the winter, an adequate shelter. We didn't have anything in our ordinance that defined what an adequate shelter is, what that means. So there's very specific things that we pulled from different ordinances to make our animal control ordinance more robust and more definable and more enforceable to the complaints that we have been getting over the last year or so or more.
Chief, if I could, primarily we have relied on North Carolina state statute, particularly in specific areas of animal cruelty. There's an animal, is it rights law? Is that how it's dubbed? The Animal Welfare Act.
Correct.
That is much more specific, but when we tried to get down to looking at the specific details in these state statutes, some of these things Chief mentions were not clearly defined. It was very subjective, and so when you had to try to put a case together to carry forward, it was difficult for our officers. So a lot of times we've not been able to take the actions that we otherwise wanted to take because we didn't have the law behind us to do that. Having said that, I think the changes the chief is bringing forward will allow our officers a better ability to enforce and take action in a timely fashion when we see certain instances.
And Chief knows that we had a conversation about an incident with the dog here in Winterville about a month ago. And I can understand the threat to our community for especially some dogs that run loose. So there is a need for this. We do see this happening in our communities and stuff. And those of us that are dog owners, we need to be responsible for our pets. And so I urge approval of this.
Chief, before you start, what does Fargo and Aiden do? Do they supply money to the county, or what do they do?
Aiden, I'm not exactly sure. I don't think either one of them has actually adopted the county's ordinance, which means they would just call the county. Recently, Grifton has adopted the county's ordinance, and what that means is Grifton got out of the animal control business altogether. So if they have an animal control issue, they call the county. The problem with that is it's $100 every time they have to call. The amount of times that we would have to call, if I had to put a number on it, I would say 3 or 4 times a week on a good week. And then
Benefit our community? The county, the county?
I don't think so. We are very effective, both the officers and the staff. 99% of the time we encounter a friendly dog who for some reason has gotten escaped their confinement, whatever that is, and we're able to get them. We have a great website, social media outreach, and we usually can get that owner identified and then the animal back to their owner, and they have to pay a fee to the town. So we're actually getting those proceeds, and it increases each time it happens to you. And then if we have an animal more than 3 days, we're going to end up taking it to the county. We are in the works of actually contracting some space from the county in a manner, not necessarily adopting any of their ordinance, but coming into some agreement with them where we'll have actual reserved space, so they can't say, hey, we're full, or we can't take the dog. And then if we have a really cold weekend where the dog's going to be down at the kennels in extreme temperatures, we can go ahead and take that dog immediately to the county. It's still going to be a small fee for that, but we're trying to work that out with them. But no, I don't think. I think our services that we provide would be quicker and more effective than if we turned it over to the county.
And just so council's aware, staff has spent numerous hours discussing the best course of action moving forward in this arena. And as the county has expanded their animal control services, historically they've been rabies control only, but now they have a more broader scale functioning department. We've discussed whether or not it would be to the citizens' benefits, and we certainly think the county has their hands full with operating and enforcing animals within the entire county. So as we've worked to improve relationships with the Pitt County Animal Services folks, and I give credit to staff for working hard to do that, we feel like this is the best middle ground in order to provide good services to the citizens. With that said, we simply cannot just adopt the county's ordinance as a whole and then operate under that ordinance. We would have to have our own ordinance or turn the whole operation over to them unless we have some memorandum of understanding, which is what we're currently working on. But we do feel like that's the best course of action to continue to provide the good service that we do
At
provide.
one time, they wanted us to pay part of the cost years ago.
It has been let's just say living and breathing relationship that is better now than it has been in the time I've been here, and I think that is 100% due to staff's hard work and continued desire to have a better working relationship with the county. So we're thankful for that, but we still believe that we can provide in 97% of the cases, a better, quicker response.
At one time, we had agreement with Aiden, I believe. We shared a laws.
I won't say with all honesty that it's probably staff's favorite part of their job, because sometimes you just never know how an animal's gonna be, but Chief's right. The vast majority of encounters are friendly, and we have quite a few dog lovers. Not to say they're not cat lovers, but we actively pick up dogs the most, and they take good care of these dogs. So we feel like, I commend everyone, because they're doing a great job.
These codes that we have here, for instance, like 91.21, these are county codes that we're speaking of?
I can't, some of the language would be similar to what the county has. We did get some of the tethering, we plagiarized from another state in some of the language.
Let's say
but
legally plagiarized, if that's easy.
Yeah, legally plagiarized. Utilized, that's a good word.
That's a great word, Don.
So the ones that you have highlight is the one that you have recommend?
We've added, yes. We didn't take anything out of the old ordinance. We only added to the areas that we thought we needed some more coverage and more explanation.
Well, how would this information will be shared with the owners of these animals?
Well, it'll obviously get posted onto our Code of Ordinances, updated on our website. We can also put out a little notice in the newsletter to alert, hey, you need to, obviously we can't put the whole ordinance in the newsletter, but we could say, hey, there's some changes, maybe a little bulleted section about these are some changes you need to be aware of, and give them a link to that information.
I think an educational blitz is important, because these are gonna be more defined and stricter regulations, so.
And just like the blowing your grass clippings in the street ordinance we adopted last year, we're not going to go out and automatically start smoking citizens. There's going to be a learning time period. We're going to give warnings and do some educational things. And it's more of the repeat offenders after they've been, hey, this is the new ordinance, this is what it says, we need you to try to comply. And then as that becomes a repeat offense, we actually have something to hang our hat on.
And it's not just for violators of what we might think is reasonable and prudent animal care. We have many folks in town and surrounding Winterville that are avid animal lovers. So we have people bringing situations to us where we have not been able to enforce what they think should be enforced. So it's a manner to try to be reasonable and prudent in what we think should be enforced, and be specific about how that is enforced, so that parties on both sides understand how the town of Winterville sees this, how we think it should be carried out. You might not know it, but it takes there are times where it has taken a pretty healthy chunk of our weeks dealing with some of these cases, and we just want to try to make sure we've got the best information to provide all of our staff who works on this, in this area, so they're clear on what their duties and responsibilities are.
For example, over the winter, there was a dog in town who was chained on the porch. Well, it was cold, below freezing temperatures. We didn't have anything in our ordinance to ask the citizen, hey, that's not going to work. It needs a proper shelter. And these are the definitions of a proper shelter, so that it can get out of the elements if you're going to leave it on the porch in freezing temperatures.
Dog, not, built for those kinds of temperatures.
We just had nothing in our ordinance that even talked about what a proper shelter was and anything like that.
Any other discussion?
Is there any word about not cleaning up behind your animal here at all?
We do have that,
That's already in our ordinance.
and that is an issue.
It has been,
Yeah.
it's a recent issue that's being discussed on social media as we speak, so it's something that we want to encourage pet owners to clean up after their pets.
Do we need a motion on this?
We would need you to approve to make it an official.
I would like to make a motion.
Second.
Okay. Question? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion's passed.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Chief.
job, Chief. Very good job.
Mideast Commission appointment. That deals with me.
Ms. Robinson.
Well,
Motion for Councilman Robinson to continue.
So moved.
hold on. Councilman Smith, and then
I'm not, I appreciate the confidence that council puts in me to attend the Mideast Commission. And I'm gonna report this to you. In 2 years, I should be chair, so we'll have chair, I should be chair, I said like that.
We'll be
So
sure to
I'm
keep
looking
you on
for,
there.
that's right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Keep going.
y'all forgot I got a motion now.
So you got a motion?
Okay,
And a second.
question? All right, it's called for a vote. All in favor? Okay. All right, 3, our 2020 NCLM City Vision Conference, attendance and election of voting delegates. And I received a notice this afternoon that the president, William Pitt from Washington, has nominated me to serve on the nominating committee. And I did respond in a positive manner for that, so I went up for the board in front of the committee like that and didn't get it. But he a presidential appointment to the nominating committee, which is an honor, and I appreciate
It
it
is an honor.
from him.
It's an honor.
That's great.
Yes, congratulations.
Okay. Maybe we need to ask who's planning on going?
Yes.
Where is it at?
It's in
Wilmington.
Wilmington this year.
Yeah.
As you all will recall, a year or so ago, it's usually a fall, it's historically been a fall conference. I think due to the hurricane season, they've decided they would move it to the spring. So it's in May, early May this year. I believe it's 6th, 7th, and 8th. I'm doing that off memory, which is dangerous.
Yeah.
How many delegates do we need to have?
You would need a voting and an alternate.
I have an interest in going.
Okay. Would you want to serve as delegate, volunteer?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Moore, you going?
Yes, and I'd like to serve as his alternate.
Okay. I'm not skipping the rest of you. I'm just
Sounds
asking
good to me.
those two, and I wanna go, of course. You going, Rick?
I'm planning on
Okay. Do we need a motion on that?
You
Or
plan on
just-
You need it on the voting member and the alternate. Councilman Smith, are you
I'll put it
planning
on
on,
cruise.
not to put you on the spot?
No, I'm not retired like the rest of this board. I gotta work.
We can
I
work.
just wanted to make sure you were included.
Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
I won't leave you out tomorrow. I just, I know who usually goes. Okay, we need a motion for,
For the voting.
Mr. Moore to be the voting delegate and Mr. Moy to be the alternate.
I make that motion that Mr. Moore be the delegate and Mr. Moore be the alternate.
Okay, I'll second the motion. All right, any question? Ready to vote? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Pose? Okay,
Great.
so we got that.
I know Mr. Harvey is working on your information, reservation, registration, et cetera, for this conference. So we will continue to move forward with that and keep you informed.
I noticed that it starts like, Wednesday morning,
That's right.
8:30, and then it goes, into Wednesday night, then Thursday morning, into Thursday night. So it's like,
So have you
on
check it
each
in
end, you have to have it.
Tuesday night and then leave it on Friday, I believe.
Yes.
Yes, if, I'll get, there's a checklist because you've got to sign up for different things.
Yeah, for your,
I think I've got that just about ready, but I will get that out to each of you. And if you will get that back to me just as soon as possible so I can go on and register and get rooms and get everybody signed up, and then I'll put your packages together as we get close to the conference.
Okay.
Thank you.
thank you.
Audit contract for fiscal year 2019-2020.
Mr. Bowers, is he coming up? He's so excited to be discussing this issue, since it feels like we just
Well,
went through
yes,
it.
of course, audits are always exhilarating. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council. Again, this is our annual audit contract. It has a value of $38,600. And this contract is basically required. It is a independent audit firm who comes in and reviews the financial well-being of the town, everything from GASB standards to general accepted accounting principles, as well as compliance issues with regards to grants and awards and packages and things of that nature. Again, this contract is the same contract we pretty much use every year. It's provided by the local government commission, and so it fits their format for compliance. And we were looking to start an interim audit in May, and then move the audit up this year till August, so ready to get started. Again, this is the this will be the third year they've done a full audit, so it'll be the fourth for them. However, when I say it's only been the third year, they assumed responsibility from another office and branch that first year, and they basically picked the ball up and ran with it for us and helped us out. So,
Motion to approve.
Second.
Question? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Process for easement acquisition and condemnation for multiple properties.
These gentlemen are doing it together. And troopers, yes, yes, they are definitely troopers.
Travis has graciously allowed me to speak tonight. Town Council, we come to you tonight often as we extend our utilities, particularly our backbone infrastructure, into adjoining areas. We are required to obtain easements from the property owners. Often this goes very well, and property owners actually give it to the town with nothing in return requested. However, there are times when this process doesn't work that way, and we begin negotiations, and hopefully through the negotiation process we can come up with something that's amenable to both parties. And then there are times when that doesn't work either. And when that doesn't work, we have to begin the condemnation process. Tonight we come to you asking for your permission to do that when it's needed, but only when it's needed.
Make a motion approved.
Second.
Question?
Have we had any problem yet?
Yes, sir.
We don't normally bring you this request until we have already had quite a bit of problems, and we have.
And the owner has been contacted how many times?
I would estimate 15 to 20 times. I've met him on Friday evenings and on Saturdays to work around his schedule. We've spoken on the phone several times as well. We've been doing this now for over a year.
And Travis?
I've also got one easement, and I look back to the records today. We've been speaking with the property owner for just right at a year almost now. And I do think we're going to be able to work it out. The folks agreed in principle to the easement a long time ago, but they're very difficult people to get in touch with, and we're just not having any luck sealing the deal.
Unfortunately, sometimes it takes a little bit of extra added oomph to get folks to move.
And this is for sewer. This is just one easement on one property for a sewer department. It's for the replacement force main boring of the railroad tracks in Mill Street by the Church Street lift station. Like I said, I hope we'll be able to work things out, but it's been a long, drawn out process, and we need to get the project moving forward so we can move on to the next one. They exhibited interest in granting the town the easement, and we just can't seem to get together and work things out.
But I hope this goes to show, you all have done this before, and I hope it goes to show that it's been a year for both and we certainly do our level best to try to get them ahead of time, and vast majority of time staff successful, but there are those few that still remain, and we have to have these things to move forward. And again, it's an easement, we're not taking people's property permanently. We're just asking them to use it, and we've been more than fair, so we just need to have council allow us, and Keen's aware of this, Keen's in favor of moving forward when the time comes.
That was going to be my next question.
Yes.
Yes. And none of them has never said no. They just give you the runaround. They have not said no.
The folks that just for the sewer easement I'm speaking of, they have not indicated that they would not grant the town the easement. It just seems to be an issue that it's several family members. They're all very busy. They seemed agreeable to grant the town the easement. They keep asking for minor things here and there. We've provided all that extra stuff, and it got down to the language in the agreement, and the town attorney was working through that, and it just seemed to fall apart at the holidays. You know, there was a lack of communication on their part. So we're going to attempt again to reach out and try to work things out with them before proceeding to this.
I appreciate that.
Robert has had a somewhat different experience.
I have.
He's been told all but no, that's why we're here.
The town's made what it considered to be a very fair offer, and it was immediately declined. And at that point, and that came after several months, well over a year of negotiations with the property owner.
Any more? Okay. Are you ready to vote? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Other agenda items.
Yes, I have one.
Okay.
Immediately attention to a property that needs some attention to immediately. Instead of, I know that we have a process, and sometimes this process takes a long period. But if there is a situation can cause injury, or it can be a situation where it can entice troublesome people or clients around, I would say that we need to go ahead on and address it immediately. I would love for us to do that, have something in place for emergency.
I would offer that I could draft a policy and bring the actual verbiage back to you next month. But the property that I know you and I have discussed and in question, staff talked about it and reiterated this morning at staff meeting. Mayor Pro Tem was there, and they've been given the go-ahead to secure that property immediately.
Okay, good.
So what we'll do is just take that and then reduce it to some internal policy language that upon such time as it's deemed to be a immediate threat to the health and safety
Yes.
of the public, that we could take some internal steps.
Do they need to be in form of promotion?
I don't need it to be unless you all feel more comfortable. I'll share with you
Yes.
the policy we put in place, but I mean, from my perspective, it would be an internal town policy that staff would follow under the when the time.
Well, I think that we will have to wait until you write it up and get it so we can be able to approve it.
If you all want to try to approve it as an internal policy, I don't normally bring you internal policies to approve, but I would certainly be willing to share that language unless you all wanted to make it a more formalized part of, I'm not sure I want to say ordinance, because then if it needs changing, I got to bring it back before you all, as opposed to have the flexibility to change it internally. That's why I was suggesting we utilize the internal policy procedure.
Okay.
But I'll certainly share what that verbiage is when we put it together.
That'll be fine.
Thank you.
Okay. Items for future agendas, future work sessions? Any items? Okay. Report from department heads.
Well, got another one.
Okay.
Vehicles.
We have a report coming before the meeting's out on what we've been working on. and then maybe that will help you figure out whether we need to have a meeting on it or not, if that makes, or, an agenda item.
And you will present that to us, what, on our next meeting?
I'm good, staff, I think Chief's ready to talk about what he's been working on related to vehicles.
Parking yards?
Yes, not quite yet, not quite yet. But during the report process.
And the trailers?
And yes, that's all part of the vehicles.
Okay, all right. I'm good.
Okay.
Are we at the report part?
Mhm.
Okay.
Good evening again, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. Just a couple quick things. The town limit sign on Laurie Ellis Road, the DOT did replace that with a new sign last week, so that is completed. Chapman Street culvert is moving right along. They have finished the first 60-foot section on the downstream end and are backfilling that. And they have poured the base and walls of the 60 feet on the upstream end and are working towards the road. Once they complete both ends towards the road, then they'll tear the road out and do that last section in the middle. That way they can reach it with the concrete trucks. Did get some good news last week from the Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services. The town was awarded a $15,000 grant to clean out the ditch. We call it Long Branch Canal. It's between Cedar Ridge and Irish Creek, and then upstream on the other side of Old Tar, behind Preston Trails and Briar Creek, all the way up to Beacon Drive. So we got that grant. We just were notified last week, so we'll be bringing, thank you, a contract to council for approval once we receive that from the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Travis.
And an update on the new territorial expansion for the electric. Staff has completed extension of the line to the south from the intersection of Old Tar and Laurie Ellis. It opens up that corridor. It also makes Greenville Utilities one of our new customers. We don't get to say that very often. We've also finished extending, and I say that with great pride and great pleasure. We also have extended the conduits for the carrier for the backbone infrastructure out to Worthington Road. We need the easements at this point to continue. So thank you for your vote tonight. It's greatly appreciated, and we can start setting some poles shortly. Thank you again.
Evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council. Just a quick update. If you recall, last month I gave you a heads up that the State Water Infrastructure Authority was given a list from staff with Environment and Natural Resource on recommended funding of projects. Our pump station rehab, sewer pump station rehab project was on that list. The State Water Infrastructure Authority took staff's recommendations, approved the town for funding. We received the letter of intent to fund our project. The total project amount was $1,974,200. Of that, we received $500,000 of principal forgiveness. The remaining balance, being $1,474,200, will be paid back over 20 years at 0% interest. If council is fine and we don't receive direction otherwise, staff will continue moving forward with that project. The next step is putting out a RFQ, request for qualifications for professional services, to do the engineering, the environmental work, the design, the plans and specs, which, should we continue, that deadline is July 1st, 2020. So we will, if I don't get any direction otherwise, we'll go ahead and try to crank out that RFQ, get that out this week, next week, and receive them, select someone, keep moving forward to meet that deadline.
Do we need to make it, take an action on that?
No action necessary.
Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Staff,
Thank you.
very good.
Mhm.
Good evening, all. Just a few quick things from the Parks and Rec side. Babe Ruth registration starts next week, goes through April 6th. After-school hoops starts April 6th. That takes place at Hillcrest Park on Monday and Thursday afternoons. T-ball Pee Wee registration is going on right now, and that last day is Friday. Opening day for Cal Ripken baseball is next Saturday, March 21st. That's at 10:30 a.m. on McLaughlin Field at the Winterville Recreation Park. And Community Day and Easter egg hunt are March 28th. Community Day is 11 to 4, and Easter egg hunt is at 2 o'clock sharp. Thank you.
What were those days for after-school hoops?
Monday and Thursday.
Monday and Thursday.
And that starts at 4. I believe that one's 4 to 6.
March 28th was what time?
March 21st or March 28th.
28th.
28th is Community Day 11 to 4 and Easter egg hunt at 2.
Do you have a rain out date?
April 4th. Yes. Thank you.
Chief, Will Hyde, vehicles. As just a reminder, I think Chief's been looking at trucks and trailers connected, parked on streets within town. You've also been looking at cars in front yards. Did I miss anything?
No.
Okay.
So it's kind of like junk vehicles. Until you go out looking for cars parked in yards, you don't really realize how many cars are parked in yards. And for different reasons. That somebody has too many cars, their driveway might not be suitable, whatever the reason. If the town decided to not allow vehicles parked in grass in their yard, it would affect every part of the town. I saw numerous across the in Barefoot Landing, and even more in North Winterville. Not necessarily in my neighborhood, but there are some cars on the sides of houses, quite a few. There are also boats on the sides of houses and RVs on the sides of houses. So I don't know if you want to consider a number of cars that would be able to be parked in the yard. And if that was a number, how you would choose that number.
And Chief, would it be fair to say that not every house in Winterville has a bona fide concrete or asphalted driveway? So
That's correct.
it becomes a little more difficult to discern where a driveway may be.
Right. The trailer aspect, that is not happening as much as we would think. We see one every day right here on Church Street. The gentleman has the mowing business. That one is there all the time. I found one more, and it was a temporary trailer. Somebody doing some construction on a house. A remodeling crew had parked a trailer that wasn't attached. They were doing some work, so we can understand that. That was over on Miller Circle, over in Canterbury. And I think, Mr. Moore, you have an area over where you're seeing that as well. Our ordinance currently says if it's attached, it's fine. If it's not, it's okay. And to me, that defeats the purpose. If you just stay attached, then nobody can bother me.
If it's not attached, it's not allowed to be parked on
Correct.
Town Street.
I'm not sure where that ordinance came from, but attached or unattached, the obstruction is still the same, in my opinion. I don't think that one really needs attention unless you're going to change it from attached trailer cannot be parked on the street either. There are few enough of those that we can manage the unattached trailer issue without issue. It's the ones that know the ordinance and they just stay permanently attached.
Sometimes I would park in front of my house, just because I was a former engineer. The house never had a driveway. The house always had parking on the street on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to the engineer, said I could only have narrow driveways. So I have to go across the center line each morning I go out on Cooper Street to get to the right. Because the narrow street, that causes a problem. Think about that too, just an issue. We put cones around, we put a car in front of my house, but it's a problem. I know what you're talking about. I get complaints on my street all the time. Yeah. A lot of people have called me.
But I know recently we've had the complaint about the number of vehicles in the yard
Yes.
out on Old Tar. But that would affect so many more people.
Is it because the number of people live in the house? Is that the problem that's happening there?
No, he got upset with us because we went up and asked him about his cars. We wanted to make sure none of them qualified as a junk vehicle, which they didn't. He said, when I was young, I had to walk everywhere, and now I like cars, and I got cars. And we said, okay, thank you.
What's Greenville's ordinance?
Greenville adopted a no parking on unimproved surfaces because of the college students constantly parking in the yard at get-togethers, and most of that had to do with the downtown student housing environment. That was their intent for that.
And I'm not sure that's citywide.
I'm not sure. I know my daughter got a ticket for it, and I had to pay it.
Is that downtown, in the downtown?
It was. It
area?
was
Yeah.
in the Truna. They constantly change the name. On the Grid is where she got her ticket.
On the grid. So I think at this point, Chief, thank you for that. We need some direction on what council would like to see us continue to do with respect to whether you would like to look at enforcing either of those items.
I'm not in favor because I have many vehicles and I'm only one driver,
Understood.
so I'm not.
Let's just think about it for a while. We'll let it rest for a while.
And I would urge you, just while you're traveling around, to say, okay, I'm going to look and see how many cars are parked in yards, and until you look for it, you just don't realize how many there are.
And I know in our HOA, I didn't mean to cut you off. I know in our HOA it specifies not to park on the grass. They'll send you a letter letting you know not to park on the grass and whatnot. But if you ride through our neighborhood, you see plenty of people parking on the grass. But we do get a letter from the HOA.
Well, my next door neighbors don't have children, it's just two of them, but they have 6 cars between them, they just like cars, so.
Yeah.
They can't fit them all in the driveway all the time.
Only thing I can say is it definitely, it looks bad to your neighbor.
Yes, it hurts the property value, I think, but I
And
understand.
it is an eyesore to your neighbor. I mean, to have, everybody lot's about the same, and here you are, your lot is completely filled with vehicles. If there's an emergency comes up and you need to get up to the house, how can we get there?
To make an ordinance, though, it seems like we have a lot of issues within our communities as far as an ordinance that would work for everybody.
It's gonna make enforcement a little challenging.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because like I told you, my neighbor has no driveway.
But if
They
you
park
look-
on the street.
But if you look at the new neighborhoods. that,
But would we make it and just do it for the new
New
neighborhoods?
neighborhoods, like, the last 20 years of neighborhoods.
Wouldn't
For the
most of,
most part.
wouldn't most of those have a homeowners association to,
I would hope that that would be the enforcing arm for a neighborhood that is,
The challenge is gonna be, most of the neighborhoods, in the last 20 years do not have a
Right.
homeowners association. All new neighborhoods have some type of homeowners association. It may not be to the extent that they would regulate parking in the yards, though. Some of them only exist to maintain the common areas, or the manner with which the things they govern do vary. My concern is that that's a rather voluminous task for law enforcement to undertake from any type of retroactive stand, so I'm not sure.
What was Melissa's title right now?
She was the code enforcement officer and a community planner, I think.
And it's very hard to determine if they owns the vehicle or if that's a business that they're running. Now,
Most of the
now, like a carrier business or
no,
those type things.
I think that's few and far between. I just.
But
think-
I'm just asking a question.
Are you asking if it's difficult to
Yes.
determine? I
To
don't think-
determine that, it's very hard to determine that.
Usually, even if they don't have their vehicles permanently marked with the business name, there are temporary signs that they may put on top, like, I'm not talking about driver's ed, but like the driver's ed signs, you know, you stick them on top and you take them in. Usually, we would get, I'm not saying all the time, but we would usually be made aware through some type of complaint action that that's occurring. And I'm not aware, Brian, not to put you on the spot, that we have any active complaints from a zoning violation standpoint regarding that kind of thing. Somebody operating out of their home, multiple cars.
nothing, not.
Okay.
We asked the, I think it's Worthington Street, the Hispanic folks that were parking all those work trucks.
Lane Street.
yeah, Lane Street?
They moved most of those vehicles to another location.
That
And
is
that's
what-
not where their business is, but they've kind of taken that whole street.
But they did comply,
They did.
and so that was one instance we knew that was an issue, and staff successfully worked with that homeowner.
And I think if, y'all go out and talk to the homeowners, I think they will comply.
So right now, we're leaving it.
Except for one on car.
Well, I don't.
Well,
I don't-
If you have somewhere else to take your vehicle, they in fact have a business location at another spot they could put. But for a homeowner that really has no other place to put their vehicles, they probably would not comply.
65 Mustang in the backyard, it's in the back of the railroad street. Been forever.
I've seen that car.
You talking about the gray one that's sitting outside now?
Okay.
Yikes.
Is that the one you can see from Highway 11?
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So if staff understands that
So-
we're just gonna mull over it,
That's
and
right.
you all will let us
Debate it.
know when you'd like us to look
We'll
at
go
it
to May,
again.
we'll find it in a meeting in May, and ask that question.
All right.
How do we do it? Gives us a challenge.
Sorry, it's not easier than
In
that.
May.
Yes,
That was Councilman Morton.
Yeah, in May.
This is council's,
Talking about the lead.
we're going to the conference, vision.
Ask that question.
Okay.
Now, Councilman Moore, if you make a motion, then I'll second your motion. To limit.
To do what? Entertain a motion to do.
My concern is we don't have anything in place. It's like, I think that the question was asked, if we put something in place, do we say how many vehicles can you have in your front lawn? How many that, if the tractor or trailer is attached or non-attached? I think that we need to have staff, if you don't mind. I think Chief have already put some things together, some recommendations And I think that we need to look at what he already has and
I'm not sure Chief has made any recommendations. I think he's just giving suggestions on what we would have to do to change the current ordinance to change the ordinance from its current state.
okay, but Chief, can you come up with some recommendations?
We used to have transfer trucks that park downtown years ago. That's when we started this.
And there is a regulation against vehicles of a certain number of axles. I do think, well, I certainly want Chief to speak, but I think what I heard the Chief say is that trucks and trailers, there does not seem to be a pervasive problem on town streets currently. Is that what you agree?
Correct.
But there is a problem. There is some problem.
But in his opinion, it's not a large town-wide issue.
Only a couple.
And I think where I'm at is, let's go ahead on and put something in place so it won't,
Well, that's what we're asking
So we
for, is
won't-
direction
so it
on,
won't grow on us.
that's what we're asking for, direction. We currently have that you cannot park a vehicle of a certain number of axles on a town street. You cannot park a trailer that's unattached to a vehicle on a town street. So we would need direction above and beyond what we currently have in place from council to know how you would like us to recommend changes.
And I'm asking the chief if he can come up with something.
Yes, I think the unattached trailer is adequate. There are a few that are permanently attached. I don't know that I'd recommend that whether it's attached or not, that it would be in violation. But I surely don't think the vehicles in your yard, I would ask to do a little riding around and see what an undertaking that would be. I would not recommend doing that, just because of the magnitude of the number of vehicles we're talking about. And if I could be perfectly honest, I think it targets a socioeconomic group that maybe can't live in the homeowners association neighborhood, and the ones with, 2 or 3 wide driveways, or a curb. Like at my house, I park one of my vehicles on the street, and there's a place to do that. We're talking about citizens where you say, okay, there's the vehicles in the yard, and then you see, all right, where would you put them? So I think there's a lot of issues with just blanketing that across the whole town, for you guys to consider before you do that, just to go look, because it is everywhere.
And just so I'm clear on where you're talking about trucks and trailers over and above what we currently have, what would your recommendation be?
That we leave the ordinance as it is.
So in other words, we're not coming to you for Thanksgiving because we ain't gonna be able to park in your yard because your neighbor's gonna call the police and say, you got too many people in your yard. Okay.
You probably can park about 10 cars in your yard.
Park on the street.
We can't park outside the street, you make that ordinance. Chief ain't gonna write me a ticket. You just hand me my turkey and I walk on.
No, yes, but I don't want you to make me lose my focus because there's a problem.
You know,
All right,
at Christmas
we're
time,
not gonna
between
take any
45 and
action.
65 every Christmas.
Are we is there going to be a motion made?
Now,
Or
I just
any
like
action?
for Chief just to go back and look at it again and bring us a report.
If I could,
I'll-
ask for clarification on that. We're trying to get an idea of what council wants us to look at. If that's a fair request, just so that our time is well spent and we're able to bring you the information that you're actually looking for back. And I don't know that I'm clear on that.
I'm clear that I'm happy with where we are,
My second.
Well, put it in a motion.
but I'm only speaking for me.
Well, that's,
Okay.
Well,
I'll start right away.
I mean, I've seen you out there manicuring your yard, Mr. Moore. If somebody drove a car in your grass, you'd be mad about it. Not everybody does the same thing, comes from the same place. Pulling right up in the yard. I could bring you a slideshow that shows you the different areas of town and where this is beyond the scope of just making an ordinance, hey, you can't park in the yard anymore, and the magnitude of how that would affect our citizens.
Yes, because I'm the total opposite. I like to put my whole yard in concrete. So I would have to cut grass.
Then you have to take special stormwater.
That's right,
fee.
then your stormwater.
Then I
fee
have
go up.
stormwater.
That's
So I
right,
still-
you're gonna raise your stormwater fee. Them, what, those surfaces.
Yeah.
That word is
Surface.
a tongue twister for me. Okay. Any action from the board? Any motions?
And my last piece on this is going to say that I like for whatever you would like to have in your community, or his community, or your community and my community, I think it should address in everybody's community. I don't think that you will allow this to happen in your town, in your community. Because like you said, over there where you at, whatever you don't see that because you got the space. But we need to go back and look at it. We can look at it and see what we can do different. Instead of saying, let's not do anything.
Well, and that's why I'm asking for council direction on what you would like us to, what the council would like
Take
us
a
to
look at it.
specifically.
So let's take the,
We'll take a look at it.
the gentleman on Old Tar. He has 7 cars? He has room for probably 3, 4. He can't park any on the street because he'd be on Old Tar.
So he keep what, 3 in the
Can't really
front
park
yard?
them around back. So, and then what if you want to drive Betsy instead of Sally and she's in the front? You got to move 3 cars to get her out. Where are you going to put them to get her out? They got to go in the yard. It depends on the area and the space that you have as your property. To me, that's what it looks like is driving where people park is the amount of space they actually have. Like your house, you could park all the way around the corner up the road, legally parked. Down the road the other way, legally parked. Because you have that surrounding the place that you live.
But,
A lot of people do not.
a lot of, well, we do have the older sections that you're gonna have areas, houses that have packed dirt, driveways. We have, like I said, the house next door to me doesn't have a driveway. They have to park on the street. Then you have, lots of things, lots of different scenarios. But all the people that bought the houses or stay in the houses had an expectation that they could park their vehicles there. And once we change up,
I just know how long it took Greenville just
think we
to
got a problem.
regulate front yard parking from the time that I was employed there to the time they finally enacted an ordinance in the downtown area. It was decisive, it was just a process in and of itself. And so they also give specific residential permits for parking. I mean, there's a much larger, it's just not parking in the front yards by itself. It's a whole approach, if you will, to parking. So that's why, just as your manager, I'm trying to get a clear indication of what the council would like to see us do so that I can work with staff accordingly so that we bring you the best information back.
Well, I would volunteer to ride with you, if that's all right with this board, and we just,
But can I
Sure.
get a clear, but, I mean,
and then we'll go from there. That will be a start.
but could I get a clear sense of what we're looking at so that I understand how to best work with staff to bring you what you need back?
To look at what we're seeing that is okay, that it might be all right, and then what I'm saying that is a problem, so you can know the difference.
Well, anyone has
Yeah.
anyone has an open invitation to ride with Chief. I think Chief would extend that.
Yes, that's what
I'm still uncomfortable with what we are trying to assess. I'm asking for the council to give staff direction on what we're trying to assess.
We will bring that information back to you whenever we find that out, okay?
But that's asking I'm not trying to be argumentative, but we're asking staff to try to ascertain what may or may not be appropriate to bring back to council, and I feel like that's slightly unfair to put staff in that position without some additional direction from council.
He won't be alone, I'll be with him.
I understand, sir. I understand, Councilman Moy, but again, you're one member of the total council, and I'm trying to get a council direction on what the interest is and what the information needs to be.
Can I make a motion then? Ask the council, can
Sure,
I take a
absolutely,
tour
please.
around the town with the chief so we can look at the different setting of the vehicles in our community?
Are we talking about vehicles in the front yard? See, that's why I'm asking, again, it would be helpful to know what we're trying to ascertain in order, what we need to work and how our time is best
Yes.
spent.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That is correct.
So that's vehicles in the front yard?
Yes, that's
Okay.
part of it.
And
The motion is that, you will be allowed to, ride around Winterville with the chief of police to assess the need for,
Yes.
an ordinance for off-street parking.
well, that's what I'm trying,
Is
that's
that,
what I'm trying
is
to
that what we're
determine.
doing? For
For,
Do
off-street.
we need a motion for that?
I didn't think
I mean, if I
so.
want to ride with the chief, I'm gonna call him up tomorrow afternoon and say, hey, dude, come pick me up,
The
I need to
motion-
ride around a few minutes,
My request,
check some things out.
my request for direction did not have anything to do with riding with the chief. My
Okay.
direction is, if you're asking staff to ascertain regulations for vehicles, just please more specific direction about what you're asking us to look at. Because parking, the manner of parking, the types of vehicles that can park on streets, believe me, I've written more parking ordinances than most folks could shake a stick at. That is an all-encompassing arena, and I just want to make sure that we're spending our time where you want us to spend our time. That's
You're
all I'm
looking at,
asking.
you're looking at vehicles
I'm
parked
looking
on the
at
dirt.
I'm looking
or-
at vehicles as a total. Can I say, we're looking at vehicles as a total in the community? And then we'll come back and let you know exactly where
Just for
it's
the
at.
record, that's just not, we'll certainly do our best, it's just not clear enough.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so we
I
don't need a
understand.
motion. The board agrees we don't need a motion, and we're just gonna,
You got a
I've,
motion.
I've asked for
yeah, I got a
council
motion, got, didn't get a
direction.
second.
All right, well, it dies with lack of a second.
Okay,
Okay.
that's fine. Mm-hmm,
Stay as is.
okay,
Thank you.
okay.
Okay.
Tell me when I need to pick you up, Mr. Moy.
I'll let you know.
All right, reports from department heads. Are we finished with those?
I believe so.
Cemetery?
I will give you the report that I gave you last time, and that is I do have 2 schematics to send you. I would prefer to do that via email,
Sure.
just so you can take your time. One has a roadway around the entire new area, and it equates to about 990, don't quote me the number, additional individual spaces. The other one only shows a partial roadway around part of the new area. That equates to 1,050 spaces, I believe. So I think we're gonna recommend that obviously the roadway around the entire new space is most appropriate, and I think that does yield about 990 new individual spaces. But I'll be sending that to you via email.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Multi-purpose building, no progress?
We are in negotiations, as you all have, continue to be in negotiations, as you all have been made privy to previously.
Okay.
Did I forget anything?
All right, that's our department heads. All right, announcements, Mr. Harvey.
Okay, let's look at the announcements we have for this evening. There is a security forum tomorrow night at St. Timothy's Church at 7 o'clock. Reason I bring that up to you is Lieutenant Williams is on the panel for that and will be representing the town at that forum. Planning and Zoning Board meeting will be next Monday, March the 16th at 7 p.m. here in this room. Board of Adjustment meeting will be on Tuesday, March 17th at 7 here in this room. Recreation Advisory Board is Tuesday, March the 24th, 6:30 at the Operations Center. And as previously mentioned, the 2020 Community Day and Easter egg hunt is Saturday, March 28th from 11 to 4 at the Recreation Park. Census Day Live is Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. I'll say a little bit extra for that. As you may be aware, April 1st is Census Day, but as Brian was telling us today, the county is going to be having some live broadcasts around, and there will most likely be one here, probably from the town hall in the lobby. We'll be getting more information to you as that firms up. The 2020 first Winterville Town Market is Touch a Truck. That's on Thursday, April the 2nd from 4 to 8 at the Town Market. Good Friday is on April the 10th, and town offices will be closed. And go on and mark your calendars. The Volunteer Appreciation Dinner is Thursday, April 23rd in the community room.
All right, report.
Okay.
Mr. Moore.
I attended a funeral recently, and the county vehicles were making noise, a lot of noise. Slam, slam, slam. That was very difficult to hear, but it was the county vehicles. And that was very disappointing, very, very disrespectful by the county trucks. No pet traffic was going in and out. Our police officer did a great job of stopping the traffic, but the county vehicles were being respectful. If I was at my father, my mother, my brother, sister, I'd be very upset with the county. It's very difficult. Also, I received a complaint about the developers leaving a lot of mud in Cooper's Point. I'm gonna look at that. Mud on they said they're making a mess in Cooper's Point. Who was that?
Anyway, I don't remember.
It should be easy enough to determine.
We have so many people come
I
through
said
there.
I said to bring it up tonight. Different job.
All right.
Third, I had some complaints about the post office and the service. And myself have complained to the post office people about the service. I had mail that sat there for 8 days, registered mail, certified mail. I got copies, I kept it in envelopes, and I complained to the postmaster. I want to thank the police department with the drug enforcement, doing a great job. Most people I've ever seen on a report. Thank you very much. Drugs are bringing us down. Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you, staff, for all you do for us. We couldn't have got that reward without your service. Thank you, each of you. And town manager.
Oh, thank you.
I don't have anything.
I don't have anything, no more than, Chief, I will let you know when I'm available.
I'd just like to thank the Pierces that are out in the audience tonight from the west side of Winterville. I think Ms. Pierce also works with the Census Bureau. So no April Fool jokes, Ms. Pierce, on April 1st. So, but I'd just like to thank them for coming out. Always good to see somebody from that side. And I don't have anything else.
He works hard.
I like to thank Doug Killian for his steadfastness in the planning board meeting the other night, and supporting the land use plan that we've all adopted. Are there any fire alarms, smoke alarms available, fire department? Just send them to you, okay.
Ms. Robinson, I do have one more thing, I'm sorry. Miss Beatrice Henderson was recognized as the Citizen
Southern Star.
Star, that's it, of this week.
That's good.
That was an honor for her. And so I just want to recognize her for that.
Did you say Southern Star?
Southern Star.
Southern
By
Star.
Southern Bank and Southern Bank,
yeah,
Southern
okay,
Star.
okay.
I'm speaking at the senior citizens meeting this month, so we don't, not doing anything. I don't know when it is right now, but. Terry?
That's all I have.
Yes, I just wanted to make the community, thank you, community members, for hanging in there with us. Just aware of, there's a lot of information going around about the coronavirus, and you're hearing lots of different things. Town of Winterville has taken no official steps towards taking any action to curb operations, travel, or anything at this juncture. Obviously, we didn't have any out of the country travel scheduled. We are monitoring all of our good news outlets, and what I mean by that is our North Carolina League of Municipalities, our international state associations, be it Managers Association, any of the department heads that are affiliated with state and international associations. Good information is coming out, and I believe it's the kind of information that we can act upon and try to make plans accordingly. Obviously, as a staff, we have an excellent emergency management team. Chief Moore, our fire chief, is our emergency manager. He has got some training coming up for us. Is that next month, Chief? Next month? Just to keep us fresh in emergency operations, what we need to be aware of and moving forward with. So we are in the information gathering and paying attention mode, if you will. If that were to change and we were to feel like that we needed to enact certain things, obviously we would consult with the council in detail before we did that. Obviously, if we have staff members that are sick, we're urging them to stay home, but that's just not coronavirus, that's flu. That has impacted our staff quite a bit. We've had a sick group on and off throughout the season, so we've tried to look after each other, make sure whether it's them personally or their family members that we're getting them through it. So we've also had board members that have been sick. We're glad everybody's here. But that's sort of our update officially with respect to the coronavirus, and I don't anticipate, unless something were to change, that we'll be enacting any specific protocol. Hopefully we won't need to, but we'll certainly be staying abreast of the information and keeping you all aware as it comes through.
And keep our mayor and
Absolutely.
attorney in your prayers. I now entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Eyes get something.